Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by, having to do all this manually as my stream deck has literally just died as the show started. It's not strictly true, it died in the middle of Jaren's back and forth with me yesterday, but there we go, it seems to be crapping out now, so that'll have to be addressed. But we are joined by D Rose, 10th Man, Neil, Eli, the Adam Meakin, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
It's Friday.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Any evidence? Hold on. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, it only exists in the maths below surface level.
Oh, it's going to be slow and sluggish today when I'm doing these super chats. I'm really sorry, pressing every button manually. Shout out to Jardo, who says Jaren was right. I'd like to correct Neil for what he said in the pre-show. Okay, Jardo, I don't really know what you mean, but fine. Thanks for the super chat. So, Earth curve, any evidence thereof?
So you're actually pushing buttons today?
I'm pushing them with my mouse instead of on the little black. About, I don't know, it's probably 4 years ago now, Anthony Riley reached out and said, I want to buy you a present. I'm like, okay. And he just sent me a stream deck. Really, really kind of him. And I've been using it ever since. And today, or yesterday when it crapped out in the middle of the show, I was like, all right, fine, it's crapped out, I'll just use the mouse. But obviously at that point, everything's already loaded. And all the buttons to load each program are all on one page of the stream deck. So I'll start my show and just press all the buttons one after the next, and all the programs load, and then I just move them around into the place I want them. Well, I couldn't do that today. So I'm like, oh dear, that's not very good. I think I've coiled the wire up too much and damaged the connection. Anyway, let's not dwell on my stream deck. I'll sort that out. I haven't actually got 200 quid to replace one, so I might take it down to my tech guy and ask him if he can resolder the connection or so he can fix it. Maybe I'll be able to salvage it. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Jardo. Maybe you can clarify in the chat what you meant.
Yeah, please clarify.
You said
Neil's never wrong.
What was the question? Is there any sign of Earth curvature?
Yeah, physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
You're going to need a flat Earth for that? Because all roads lead to flat Earth, we're finding out.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That's the stupidest thing. Always saying you're going to need a flat Earth for that. It's the dumbest thing.
Self-perpetuating molten iron core, did you say?
If you work in IT, you're at
Oh, why aren't the buttons being muted? Oh, God. It's going to be one of them shows, I'm afraid.
That was great.
Hold on, let me just find out what this line is. Hold on.
high risk of IT.
Okay. Oh, that's going to be a problem as well.
You know how good that was? After I asked that question, the guy says to 10th Man, did you work in IT?
And I had no idea how hopelessly dependent on this stream deck I was. I can't be honest. I'm slightly taken aback by how flustered I am by this. But there we go. Such is life. Oh, dear. Funny stuff. Let's just check if it's muted. Yes, it is. Thank God. Okay, carry on. Molten iron core, you say?
No, I've never worked in IT. I hate IT, but no. I'm sorry. I'm still laughing.
Let's just apologize in advance, right? This is going to be a terrible show on my part today. I'm really sorry. Right, shout out to JMels24. So, I heard there was a little debate yesterday. Someone named Jerry, Judy, Jenny, Jalen, I don't know. It was something like that. Anyway, it sounds like he really schooled you about rocks, you amateur. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Lots of sarcasm, I feel, in the super chats today. Maybe I'm just tired. Okay, yes, I'm sure he did school me on rocks. Thank you for the super chat.
His name is actually Jenny. It's Jenny.
Okay. Right, we've got a video. It's been on screen for ages. Let's just do the do. As always, please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I'm a lot more comfortable doing this because I typically do this with the mouse anyway. So there's the link going by, although I have to try and press a button on the stream deck to show you that it's going by, in the vain hope that the algorithmic love would be returned to us by this videographer were he to respond. As always, it doesn't necessarily matter about the size. This is a particularly small YouTuber, but he needs algorithmic love like anybody, and based on his size, I'm going to give him a like. So yeah, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video, understanding equation of a sphere. Shouldn't there be a "the" in there somewhere? Maybe. Anyway, we're going to cover this. Any preamble, 10th?
Yeah, I think it's going to be showing where the angles are taken for a sphere, and you need a flat plane, and the arc is the surface that they want us to think we live on, the arc of the protractor, that is. And it's going to show imagery that we've seen when they say, this is how the sextant works. And obviously, the sextant must work from the surface of a sphere, which is round, but it can't, because you can't have a baseline that's curving to get the angle. So they take you somewhere. And I think the audience will see where they take you.
In this video, I will take a look at the equation that defines a sphere, and also we'll take a look at some of the tricks for manipulating the three-dimensional graphics view on the left. When the figure opens, 2 points are given, point A at the center of the sphere and located at the origin, and point B on the surface of the sphere at coordinates 3, 0, 2. First of all, if I click and drag the background on the left, the three-dimensional picture pans. One useful trick is to look down the z-axis, so you're in essence eliminating the z-axis and only considering the standard xy plane. But then clicking and dragging up allows you a more three-dimensional view. My point B is located at coordinates 3, 0, 2, and so by clicking and panning the figure on the left, we can get a better sense of that point B actually living at coordinates 3, 0, 2. I can click the button on the right to hide the sphere. And let's take a look at this equation. What is the equation of this sphere?
I'm really sorry. Why are we covering this? I'm already so bored.
It's educational. It's a Cartesian reference system, smack dab in a Globerger.
It is x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals 13. And in fact, if I look at the coordinates of B, 3, 0, 2, yes, indeed, 3 squared plus 0 squared plus 2 squared equals 13. And in fact, it's important to remember that this is what defines the sphere. I'll click to show the sphere again. Every point on that...
Again? 76?
No sound is coming through on Discord.
Okay, right. Can you guys talk among yourselves for a second while I sort out the sound issue?
Yeah.
Maybe if I say I thought it went really well with Jaren yesterday, that might spark some conversation. We'll see.
I was just about to talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I wanted to. Sorry, Tim.
Who listened to the show yesterday? Who listened to the? Oh, forget it. Go on.
Sorry, Dave. I just wanted to ask if you can maybe just elaborate for the audience on why it's important to note that it's ridiculous for them to take it to the center of the sphere.
Well, that's the only place where they have a baseline. the vertex has to have a baseline for the 90. Of course, you can just see an angle, be an acute angle or an obtuse angle, but if you're going to be an elevation angle, it must be subtracted from 90. And so you have to have a right angle, and it becomes a right angle triangle when you consider the hypotenuse, which is the angle from the sun or star to the telescope of the sextant when it's bouncing off the two mirrors. So you need a baseline. You need to subtract from 90. And since that can't be done from the surface because it's curved on the sphere, it's always needing a vertex that could allow all that to happen. The only place that can happen is the center because it's a plane.
Yeah, but you need to have an elevation angle to a right angle. That's why
Well,
it
that's what
doesn't
I'm
work on the
saying.
curved surface.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's the hypotenuse, so it's a right angle triangle, which they keep denying because they're just trying to say, well, two lines could give you an angle. Yeah, two lines do give you an angle, and the vertex is where the observer is, right? Okay. So now how do you subtract from 90? Well, that's a perpendicular because you're always subtracting from 90. It's the 90 that kills them. And you can't get a 90 on top of a sphere. You go to the center.
Exactly. And to add on top of that is who has ever been to the center of this presupposed globe? Nobody. They presuppose it based on what? The radius value, correct? Then the black swan debunks that.
Right. This is why this video today is important to understand the black swan and celestial navigation that happens from a flat plane, which is not at the center, but is actually the plane we live on, which they transpose to the center and build a protractor hemisphere above us and say we live on the arc.
Thank you, sir.
If the measurements require a flat plane, you have to take it to the center. But the measurements debunk that's ever being done from the surface that's curved.
But it couldn't be done from the center of a sphere either. Because
No, we
in the
know
center
that.
of the
No one
sphere,
will go there. I
the
get it.
observer, yeah, because the observer is always in the very center of that sphere. And the observer is doing a right angle triangle breathing away from the center of the sphere. So it wouldn't work on the sphere.
Well, it's a local, as this is your local horizon that they explain. And whatever they show at the center of the sphere is trying to mirror the reality that it's being done on a flat plane, where the most you have is a 180, which is a straight line. And directly to be perpendicular, it's 90 and 90. So still a baseline, and you subtract from 90 your angles, your elevation angles. So just the process can never happen from the surface of a sphere. So that destroys it right there, because they're saying sailors and navigators are on the surface of the sphere with this process, which is curved. So now you see why all the drawings in orthographic view have a tangent plane there, because they're transposing a plane on top where there is no plane in order to say, see, it works if you draw a tangent plane. Well, so basically you're confessing you need a baseline.
Yeah, but you cannot use a tangent, because a tangent needs to meet the curved surface. There is no curved surface. We're aiming at the horizontal, the horizon. That's why they don't have a tangent.
Want an upgrade that doesn't cost the earth in more ways than one? Buying refurbished from Music Magpie is hundreds of pounds cheaper, or save on new and refurbished devices if you rent instead. Music Magpie. Smart for you.
No, I don't work in IT.
Hold on a second. Can you hear that in Discord?
I will take a look at the...
Can you hear that in Discord? Now
Discord!
Now we can't hear
Figure
Discord.
opens. 2 points are given. Point A at the center of the sphere, and locate...
Nothing.
No? Nothing? Okay. Carry on chatting amongst yourselves.
Adam, you were about to say something?
Yeah, just on the point of translocation. You don't do it even from the center from hell. But all you're doing is taking those angles that you then calculate on the flat plane and then just basically describing it on a ball. And what the switcheroo is to take it to the center. You've no longer got a baseline. You've just got that observer looking at the 2 points, and that becomes the angle, which is the translation back onto the protractor, which you think is the surface of the Earth, which it can't be the surface of the Earth, because the way you derive the angle is via a flat baseline. So it is just a demonstration or misrepresentation of the calculations you've done to be able to then draw it out on the ball. That's why they take it to the center of the Earth. They have to. You can't do it on the surface of which you've done the calculations with respect to and which you're navigating. So the only way they can represent it through the ball is to go and keep that flat plane, take it to hell, and turn the arc, the optical arc that we've got in the heavens into the spherical surface of the Earth. That's why they take it to hell.
Yeah, exactly. It's never
Hold on
happening.
just one sec. Can you hear this, guys in Discord?
Located at the origin, and point B on the surface of the sphere.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Can you talk for a second? Because now it sounds like I've got distortion from Discord.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. They don't want to respond to Adam.
Sounds like I've got distortion from Discord. Please, can I hear Discord? Thank you.
Duncan from Discord.
Mic check.
Seems like there's an echo right now.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not working properly. Okay, thank you. Carry on.
Any response to Adam?
What's valuable for me? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, any response to what Adam said by anybody?
No, full agreement with Adam.
Sign of a good summation, that then, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but you can't translate that to the surface of the sphere, though. Because of the requirement of the 90th degree at the GP of the star. So if you are in the center of the celestial sphere with, let's say, a star above your head, 90 degrees from your position, and you are reading to a star away from you, from your position, that other star needs to have the same 90 degree, needs to be parallel to your position. You can't do that on a curved surface. Because both, or in the celestial navigation, there's 3 different readings, and every single one of them, both the observer and the star need to be on the same place, because light is coming, the zeniths are converging in the same place where the observer is. It's impossible. It's not the same geometry, if I'm describing myself properly.
You are. Adam, you want to have a back and forth with me on this last statement?
Go ahead. Yeah, you go, man.
All right. So when you sight a star or sun, whatever, one of the 57 stars and sun, moon, and all that, and you rock your sextant to establish its zenith above the horizon, that's the star's 90, creating a GP on the Earth. Then, because you're using the horizon, you want to do something. And what you got to do is you say, all right, well, that's 50-degree altitude. So 50 subtract from 90 leaves 40. 40 becomes the co-altitude. And the co-altitude, the 40, defines the observer's 90. So it's a box. The box has to be 2 90s with the same baseline shared in order to get the co-altitude. So if you're on a sphere, Adam, and the observer is at an angle, a diverging zenith, the co-altitude could never give you the 40 when you subtract 50 from 90, correct?
Some more tricks for manipulating the image on the left. let's see, I'll hide the sphere.
Can you hear that in Discord?
Yeah, we heard that.
I don't.
Notice that if I mouse over point B,
again, Nathan,
arrows
I heard
appear,
something.
4 arrows.
Are you not hearing that video play?
All right now.
No.
Nope.
No.
Okay, no worries.
You get all that, Adam?
Yeah. So just so when the point I'm making there with regards to that translation to the ball is you take that co-angle, it's no longer representative of your reality. The angle has to be taken to the center of the Earth to then apply to that circumferential distance, because that's why you take the co-angle and then you relate it to R. The way they then play that out is to pretend you're traveling is to come out from the center of the Earth. You see, that's not how it's calculated. That's not how it matches reality. That's how they have to portray the angle you use if you're going to show it on a ball. The only way to demonstrate it is that way. So that's why they take it to the center. It works in the model, lovely,
Arrows
because you've taken all of the calculations, already assuming a flat plane and using a flat plane. Afterwards, however you then twist it, like I said, and this is the point, you're twisting it by taking the observer to a place that there was never observed from, to be able to describe that co-altitude angle as now the angle from the center of the Earth. Look at the switcheroo. There's no geometry there. It's just the only way you can express it onto a globe.
Can I just hear from Discord again?
Hello?
Can you hear this video?
Mic check.
Are parallel to the XY plane. And so if I click and drag point B...
Yeah, we can hear that.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank God, finally. My Stream Deck constantly disconnecting and reconnecting is causing more issues than I first thought. It's changing sound input devices, which is terrible, terrible news for me. Okay, I have to dig deep and get 200 quid. Smash the super chat so I can buy a new Stream Deck. Right, I think I'm on track now. Did you want to round out whoever I just interrupted, Adam, or 10th? I'm so sorry I wasn't paying attention.
No, it's okay. I was just saying to Adam, that point was well taken that he said on the initial, but then the Discord person, I can't remember his name, said, but the surface of the sphere, you're going to require 2 90s, one for the observer and one for the star itself. And I was expressing that visually by my language as being a box, because you got to take the co-altitude and establish the observer's 90 by first establishing the star's 90, because you're at sea. It's not like you can hang a plumb bob and establish your 90 first and get the same result. So that in itself, the co-altitude is forced to share the same baseline.
B is moved parallel to the XY plane with its Z coordinate remaining constant. Z stays at 2. However, if I click B, new arrows appear parallel to the Z-axis, and now, as I drag B, only its Z-coordinate changes. So by going back and forth between horizontal movement of B and vertical movement of B, I can place B anywhere that I want to. Similarly with A, I see the arrows tell me it's only moving horizontally, so as I drag A around, it's staying in the XY plane. I'll click on it. I have vertical arrows. I'll drag it someplace else.
Quick shout, excuse me. Quick shout out to Duncan McLeod, who says, for slamming Jaren. Oh, right, okay. Thank you for the super chat.
And now I've defined my point A to be something new. I'll show the sphere again, and we have a new equation. Instead of x squared, y squared, z squared, I'm subtracting off the coordinates for point A, the point at the center of the sphere. One last trick is to use the scroll wheel. If I scroll down, I'm zooming out. And if I scroll in, and if I scroll up, I zoom in. And if I drag it and release, I get a nice animation. All right, stop that. There's
Okay, I mean, there was nothing for me to... What am I going to disagree with? Is it just you showing that he's using a Cartesian grid system? Is that the main point?
Well, there's two things. This is how you must establish a radius value, which of course changes because the black swan shows that the radius value of 3959 is beyond this limitation. So it's one to show that, because it's got to be physical. So this is showing it's got to be physical. Then the other is in celestial navigation, where they always take you to what he did, which is take that sphere and make it invisible. And now he's doing everything on the Cartesian X, Y, Z, and then just putting the arc, as Adam said, and voila, there you go. You got a sphere. I mean, it's very telling.
I'm with you, Paula, from the chat. Says, this reminds me of one of those Blender presentations. I keep falling asleep whilst watching. Yeah, that's how I was feeling. I was like, my God, get me some matchsticks. No offense to the videographer. It's just not my thing. I don't know. Maybe I can ask Adam. Adam, was that good?
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
It's all right. He's obviously tied up at the moment. But yeah, I didn't have
No,
to
it's a problem.
You kept the conversation going between you and Adam while I was fiddling around with sound settings. 100 people watching. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter if you've just got here. Very warm welcome if you have. Thank you very much. Probably only got here because someone else has shared the show already. Thank you to the regulars who shared the show. But if you haven't done so, please smash the share button.
Look, Nathan, it's a bit melodramatic after yesterday's debate. It's also offset by your technical issues today. So this video really didn't get a chance to do what it could do. So we'll just leave it there.
Fair enough. Right, now that's out of the way and we've done the housekeeping. Now, as we're halfway through the show and there's 100 people watching, feel free to have at it. You can cast your opinions about yesterday's discussion with Joe and all you like. This is going to be the opportunity because come next week, it'll be old news. But who wants to start? Feel free.
Me?
Go ahead.
No, Jake.
Go ahead.
Well, you're simply wrong. And Jaron was right. And I'll show you why. Well, what's this law of no contradiction? Who made it?
Is this another time that you say, I'll show you how, and then immediately hand the baton to me? Is that it? Are you done? Is this another one of those scenarios where I need to make the example for you, Chaiki?
I'd like to be next if he disqualifies himself.
that was it. That was what we got from Chaiki. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Well done.
No, that was actually perfect because I wrote in my notes to discuss this. And thank you, Jackie, because you're just going to prove my notes to be right. Jaron accused you of using the mute button and chasing off the ballers. Well, lo and behold, Chaki's a baller and he came on the show. And Chaiki made a claim and then wanted Nathan to support the claim. So you see how quickly they go away. And okay, can I talk without the echo of somebody, please?
Point.
So
please share my image. I posted an image.
Gosh. I'm in the middle.
Although he didn't tell us. No, let's hate to cut you off.
All right, take over, Nathan. I can always come back.
I don't want to cut you off because I'd rather hear you than Chaiki, but clearly, although he didn't tell us, he was going away and getting a diagram. Do you want to just fill us in on what you're doing, Chaiki, rather than going completely silent and then letting someone else start and then saying you've got an image?
I'm on push to talk, so it's a bit hard. When I'm looking for something, you can't hear me.
We can hear you. You've got more.
Just post the image. Share it on your screen for you viewers.
Will do. Original Dero, shout out to you. He says, shout out to Jenny from Globebusters. What's up, baby girl? Hope all's well with you. Slept well? Thank you for the super chat, Deros. Can someone stick Chaiki's image in Master B for me, please? Is that possible? We'll get there, Chaiki.
It's going to be good, Chaiki.
Yeah, it's very simple, concise.
Is it with, I think, is it B with a buzz? I think B with a buzz has sent it to me. Is it solid, liquid, gas? Yeah? Is that what you want me to present?
Yeah, it's the phases of water.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
various
go ahead.
conditions.
Hang on, Nathan. Adam, your camera's on in your shirt pocket.
That's going to be one of those days. Okay, everyone else, just be quiet for a second. Chaiki, explain how I'm wrong and Jeremy's right with this image. Go ahead. Not Jeremy.
I am, but I want the viewers to see what I'm talking about.
They can.
Okay, so you see, if you're at sea level and you do what you do, you ask, does heat cause water to boil? That was your question. And indeed, no doubt, you start pumping heat and...
My God, this is painful, Chaiki.
No, I hear you talk to the audience.
I'm not going to do this for 20 minutes, Chaiki. Do you want to make a point or what?
Yeah.
Let's
Now,
put the video back on.
At the
Let's
same
put the
time,
video back on it.
Can you please shut up? I'm talking. Now, at the same time, we ask our little friend on Jupiter to do the same test, and he has a 100,000 gigapascal or 1 megabar of pressure. And we ask him, can you test the same thing we do? And he's starting to pump heat. All he gets to 500 Celsius, and he still has ice. His water is not even melting.
On Venus.
So we proved, we proved
on Jupiter.
the nil. Yeah. We proved the nil, or we proved your hypothesis. Because both are true.
Did he say
in our
on Jupiter?
Guys,
Did he say
hello?
on
Hello? He's still talking. Yeah, Chaiki.
Yeah, thank you. Here on the beach, you made the water boil. You proved what you said is your hypothesis. But on Jupiter, it doesn't work. It stays ice. Doesn't matter how much heat you pump in it, it stays ice all the time.
I see.
What's Jupiter,
Who's right?
Chaiki?
Hello?
Who proved what?
Guys. Thank you.
So who
okay.
proved what?
In the
Who
scientific...
proved the truth?
Thank you, Chaiki. I'm now going to address you. Would it be a possibility that you could pop yourself on mute while I address you, please? Chaiki. Chaiki, can you pop yourself on mute, please?
I'm on push to talk. If I'm not talking, you don't hear me.
Can you pop yourself on mute for me? Okay, let's put it this way, Chaiki. If I hear a single interruption during this next statement, I will remove you immediately. Thank you for putting yourself on mute. Really appreciate it. Excellent. Okay. In the scientific method, you have the varied thing, in this case, heat. And your example, although hypothetical because we're talking about something out in a sky vacuum that isn't real, out on Jupiter, where nobody's doing this, that wouldn't be at 1 atmospheric pressure, i.e., you wouldn't be holding that as a constant variable. You'd be varying that also in your La-La Land on Jupiter, where nobody's going to do this. But that would mean that you've altered a different variable. So it's an invalid hypothesis, because you only vary one thing, and that would be heat. So the only thing that gets varied in this experiment is heat. You're saying, well, if I vary the location to Jupiter... Yeah, that's something else, though. That's not an independent variable that you're varying there, Chaiki. So it's an invalid hypothesis, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, that doesn't prove me wrong and Jaren right, because of a hypothetical scenario on Jupiter where you varied something that isn't the independent variable. It just means you don't understand how this method works because you're varying something that isn't the independent variable. Okay? I'm still right. But thank you. Go ahead, 10th.
And the staff at the asylum is looking for you.
Hold on.
Right.
Go ahead, 10th.
All right. So my understanding is that Jaron has built a narrative on a false premise. But that's what he pushed in the pre-show that he did before the debate. That's why I said, go listen to it so you can see where he's coming from. But you didn't show interest. But it didn't matter because he did it on the actual debate. And what did he do? He said, Nathan is hemorrhaging. No one's going to his show. Ballers don't go there anymore. And so he needs to raise subscribers. So he decides to turn on his own and attack Austin, Bob, myself, and others. That's a narrative only that lives in the mind of Jaron, as proven by Chaiki today, who actually came on the show and is a baller. So, yeah, they still come, but not as often. And the reason for that is not because of your narrative being true, and I'm addressing this to Jaron's own words, is because we don't entertain fallacious reasoning. And so when the baller comes and starts with a fallacious argument, we say, stop, you need to prove the premise before we continue, or else we'll be here 2 hours on something you haven't even proven. So can you prove it first so we can continue? Then they start doing their game. At this point, they're not welcome anymore. Come back tomorrow, you didn't do well today. Well, that went on for a while. I mean, all you got to do is listen to shows. And eventually they say, you know, we're getting beat up over there at FED. Let's go to the easier Flat Earth channels. Now, that's my narrative in my mind. And that's what they do, because that's what I see. They go to the easier Flat Earth channels that let them talk forever. I remember 24/7 when someone was allowed to talk for 45 minutes on something that he can improve in the first instance. And I finally piped in, and then I got sent to a back room and told that I was not doing the right thing. I go, you just wasted 45 minutes. The guy, all he had to do was prove it to her, but he couldn't prove it. And so I left 24/7. So this has been happening for quite a while now. That's why people who come here like this show's template, so to speak, which is, hey, come here, show us what you got, but make sure you have proof for it. We're not going to let you talk for 2 hours on the fallacious reasoning. So the ballers decided not to come to our show, but they wanted to talk to us. And we said, well, we're not going to come to your show unless you pay us $5,000 an hour. Many of us, Mitchell, Brian, myself, and others. And so they said, well, we're not going to pay you, but so we'll just do what we do. You do what you do. So I think it was me and maybe a few others suggested that Nathan, since they weren't coming because they got defeated, okay, not because of a mute button, that we do review videos. And review videos are done all day long on YouTube on many subjects. So I started putting up what people said on the matters that interest FED debate. And Nathan would do a review video, and we would send them our responses as an audience. And so now in Jaron's mind, doing review videos is because our show is hemorrhaging and not doing well. No, I got news for you. The show is not hemorrhaging. The show is doing quite well. It's where logic and reason are paramount. Fallacious reasoning is discounted and not put up with. Now, if you can't handle that, that's fine. But that's what the show is about, and that's why I'm here. I'm done.
On that note, 105 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Shout out to Original D-Rose. The staff at the asylum are looking for you, Chaiki. Thanks for the super chat.
Well, I don't recall that anything else other than heat was included in your hypothesis.
Independent variable means you'll only have one thing that will vary. All else, everything else, including location, like Jupiter, is held constant. Everything.
Well, you said we can't prove it. Jupiter is just a story. You didn't say I can't test it in different conditions. You didn't say so. I'll keep the pressure constant. Don't worry. But it will be a high pressure. Like John said, the question you ask in your hypothesis is very important. You need to be very, very precise in the question you ask.
Yeah, if heat, then water boiling.
So Jaron was right. You were wrong. End of story.
You're suggesting that I'm wrong because if you also vary the pressure by putting it on Jupiter, immediately void because that would be an invalid hypothesis because you only vary the independent variable. You're saying, oh, I'll hold the pressure constant. What, like we experience here when we experience the boiling water that we wanted to discover? So when I see a hot spring, I go, I wonder what the fuck it'll do on Jupiter. No, Dumbo. One independent variable is all that will be varied. Moving to Jupiter isn't included in that.
Just different pressure, that's all.
So is pressure something other than heat?
Yeah.
Right. So then you'd need to hold the heat constant and vary the pressure.
No.
Yeah, that's how science works. What do you mean, no? Yes, that is how science works. You have an independent variable, that which you assume will cause the effect. You vary it, and only it, and see if it causes the effect. What you don't do is say, I'm going to change the pressure first, then alter the heat. That's two variables. That's not independent anymore, Chaiki. Your hypothesis is invalid.
We have two labs. One has atmospheric pressure, the other one has another pressure.
So you're saying there's a variation in the pressure then? So therefore not independently varying heat, but in fact also, that's two things, not independent anymore, varying the pressure also.
Not worth explaining to these people.
Oh, come on, stop crapping out, you stupid stream deck. God, this could be a nightmare day.
So I'll prove the nil. Water do not boil ever.
Chaiki, you're done,
Nathan,
Chaiki.
Nathan,
Shut
maybe
up.
your stream deck would work better on Jupiter.
Nathan,
Maybe.
if you do a Windows update, it should fix it because mine was acting daft yesterday as well.
Oh, really? It could be just a Windows update.
Yeah.
What's up, Anthony?
Don't do that ever.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Anthony. I've just spent 25 minutes looking through forums that are like, oh, put it in a different USB port. Make sure the software's not loading when you start Windows. Do this, do that. I've done all of it, and it's still doing it. It's just doing it at random. I think there might be a dodgy connection from me coiling it up constantly to put it away. So I might have actually knackered it.
Try Windows Update.
Will do.
On Jaren.
Will do, Anthony. I will.
That fixed mine.
Okay, perfect.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
say that I listened to Jaren's debate thing last night, and Nathan, all Jaren did was ad hom attack, ad hom. There was very little substance. You ignored all of the ad homs. You focused in on the one topic, and you didn't move from it. And that was a perfect way to deal with it. It was brilliant.
Oh, thank you very much. You kept on slandering me in the chat.
Oh yeah, because you did give him a low blow. Yeah, you had a point deducted for the low blow because you said he wasn't quite ready for application of it yet.
Of all the things you would say, that I wouldn't class as a low blow. In my back and forth with him, right, prior to the discussion, in other words, via text messages on Skype, one of the things I specifically said to him, I was really hyper-specific with him. I said, I don't want to go past hypothesis construction. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I want to be hyper-specific about that. I was really clear with him prior to it. So although it might have sounded condescending in the moment, I was reiterating a point I'd already stressed to him over text, which is, no, I don't want to go that far. That's too advanced. And I meant it.
I don't think he read it, though, did he? I think he acknowledged that he didn't read that message.
No, because he later told me that he got a copy and paste section right in the middle of it. So while you could infer that he hadn't read it because that's what he said, he also then corrected me on what he had read because a section of it was copy and paste out of a dictionary. So you read that either way, Anthony.
I was shocked at how bad Jaren was with the point that you were addressing, because at the end of the day, your criticism was that qualitative is not the same as quantitative. And Jaren was like, yeah, but we need to know how much. And he was reasserting that point, validating your criticism. But because he doesn't understand that heat does cause water to boil, and he thinks that you need a certain amount of it, because he doesn't understand that criticism against him, he can't get past that. So then he has to say, well, you're just stupid. Because that was what he said. He said, I can't believe that you're this dumb, Nathan. It's like, Jaren, you need to address the point that Nathan's making. Respond to that point. And there is no response to it other than you're just dumb. Well, Jaren, heat does cause water to boil, but so does pressure. You can vary pressure too. But that's why we always say at sea level. And if we forget to say it once or twice, big deal, we'll correct it once you point that out. But at sea level, heat does cause water to boil. pressure does cause water to boil too, and we can vary pressure. We can boil water in a vacuum chamber, for instance. But the point is, heat does cause pressure. It does water to boil. It doesn't matter how much heat. It doesn't matter in what circumstances, but heat does cause water to boil. It's the same as the scurvy argument. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 pill, 6 pills, 9 pills, 22 pills. What matters is you get to a point where you have scurvy and then it stops because you've got enough vitamin C. Jaren doesn't seem to comprehend that. And it's that fail that Nathan's jumping up and down about and then saying, because you don't understand this, science does prove something. It proves that heat will cause water to boil. It proves that vitamin C will prevent scurvy. It does prove that. Who cares by how much? It's irrelevant. It's the point that's proven is the point that why Nathan is not a scammer. And when you apply it and then you play Jaren's words back and he just sits there and goes, you've won. But Jaren won't accept that he's lost.
Did you
why?
notice?
Yeah, because
Did you notice I didn't talk about the scammer part. I was talking about the how do you say?
Shut up, Jakey.
Alrighty then. Yeah, but Jaren thinks that
so rude. He's eating and talking at the same time.
Change.
But
One
you don't
day the
need
water's
pills
not
for
gonna boil.
vitamin C. You just need to eat citrus fruits like oranges and stuff to have vitamin C. That's how mariners fought the disease at sea. Because some mariners they wouldn't get the scurvy at all if they had the good nutrition on.
But one day they might bring lemons with them, and then suddenly they still get scurvy. That's what Jaren says.
Yeah. And it really bugged me when he was saying, like, at the point where we couldn't boil water to 100 degrees because we didn't have the skill to do it, we didn't have the technology, we would prove that water doesn't boil at 100 degrees because we couldn't get to it. And then Nathan was like, yeah, but water, we have got to that point, and it's now a proven fact that it is, the water will boil at 100 degrees at sea level with heat. That the cause of it is heat. And Jaren's like, yeah, but what if we never get to it? And what Nathan really should have said there in response is, well, then there's always the opportunity for somebody to come along and prove exactly that point when there's a new development in technology that allows, like a kettle, for instance, because then you would rewrite science, because then at that point there's a discovery made where heat does cause water to boil at 100 degrees. We previously thought heat didn't cause water to boil. Now it's been demonstrated that it does boil at 100 degrees at one atmosphere of pressure. And at that point, we prove something. So until that point, we didn't prove anything. At that point, we then prove it. Nathan's correct. You don't need to go back and prove it again because it's always going to do it unless you can prove that it doesn't. And it was like Sean Hawkins was on the other end of the conversation, and you're talking with Sean Hawkins. But the problem is Sean Hawkins understands this. And I was like, Jaren, this is shockingly bad for you. I'm done.
Couple of super chats.
Can I say something?
Couple of quick super chats.
You ran.
Just a couple of quick super chats.
So, bottom line, Jaron was right, because once I pointed that at the high pressure, you can't point the water anymore.
He's going to read and repeat the exact same thing he's just said. So, no, thank you, Chucky. We've already covered that. The independent variables, heat, not pressure. You can hold heat constant and vary pressure instead if you choose to, but that would be a different experiment that we weren't discussing. Nevertheless, Original Dero's character played by David Alan Grier on classic In Living Colour sits in the corner of a dinner shouting absurd foolishness. Reminds me of Chaiki. Jupiter! I assume that was you, Caps, shouting obscene stuff from the corner, although Jupiter's not very obscene. Shout out to Himsake also, who says, just listen to yesterday's debate. I had a blast. I would like to see you on Modern Day Debate one of these days. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
Nathan.
Yes.
I'm very offended when I'm labeled. So please ask your panel not to call me names like Glober.
Nothing more than feelings.
Who is this rude fuck?
Okay.
Oh, who's the person that's talking with it?
Okay, no worries. Can you just lay off the ad homs, especially Neil?
No, I don't here. Just, when you start a sentence with "I'm extremely offended," I don't really care. I will fight for your right to be offended.
Well, you offend me. And Nathan asked not to swear. When you call me good Glover, you swear at me.
Offense is taken.
You swear at me. So I
Just
asked
remember
not
that.
to do it.
You took
I'm not,
the
I'm
offence.
not talking
I
about
didn't give the offence, Strikey, did
the
I?
swear I get in chat in text here.
Okay, did you have
Do you
something
hear that point?
substantive to pass on before I read this super chat, Sharky? Go ahead.
Sorry?
No? Okay. Shout out to Retro Bill. Why did Jen's hypotheticals always include primitive men using the scientific method experimenting with the most loose, and inept way possible? I don't know.
Jeremy was trying to prove. He was trying to prove that science does progress. And Nathan says, well, once it's proven the positive, it never needs to go any further than that because you've always proven that positive. And that means that Jeremy perceives from that sentence that you have an end point to science. He perceives that because you've proven a positive, that you stop. Okay, well, I proven a positive, didn't I? I proved that if you manipulate the density of the medium, an acceleration is caused, which is not part of their model, by the way, but I did prove that. I manipulated that and I proved it. But if Jaren says, well, that's only correlative and therefore you shouldn't stop, go ahead, be my guest. Show me how a voltage or a current or a flow or an amperage or whatever variable that you want to prove, show me how you can cause an egg to accelerate in that circumstance, because I've tried it, it didn't work, and I proved the negative. If voltage, then egg did not move because there was no acceleration. It's not powerful enough to do it. So it does exist, but it's not proportional to mass, and I proved it. It failed to prove that there was an acceleration caused by adding a voltage or a current or a flow or whatever. And that's why I did that battery test, to show Bob that it didn't work. And he ignored it. Why did he ignore it? Because it debunks his claim that voltage or amperage or current or whatever it is, there is no directionality caused by this. And the directionality that is there is so small and not proportionate to mass that it is not the reason why we have a downward vector that he insists must be there. It isn't, because lots of things supersede the strength of it, and it's not proportionate to mass. But they ignore it. So, Jaren, practice what you preach. Show me that there's something else that you can vary to make that egg move. Because I've tried loads of things, and the only one that I can get to do it is one I showed on screen. But if you think that there's something more to it, don't stop there, Jaren. Science doesn't stop, does it? Go and show it. Prove it. If you can't prove it, Jaren, it's not a thing. That's what I did.
You're on repeat, dude. You're on repeat. I'm trying to answer you. Did you try it in an MRI machine? In a very strong magnetic field?
Sorry, you just keep adding in extra variables beyond the independent variable. The independent variable in Anthony's experiment was the density of the medium, which is what he varied. You're saying, well, no, don't vary the density of the medium. Get in an fMRI machine and do it in something that's got a... No. That would be more than one variable, Chaiki. What part of independent variable aren't you getting?
No, he asked for it. He said nothing else will change it.
Chaiki, do you remember when Jaren gave the example of a candle to boil water, and Nathan said, well, when you stand at a geyser and you try and replicate it, it might be a little bit not enough to have a candle to cause it, because clearly it's proportionately not strong enough to boil water. That was the point that Nathan brought up in rebuttal. Well, the same can be said for you, because it's a minuscule amount of acceleration or force that's caused by this voltage. But you want to use the strength of an MRI machine to replicate that? Are you upset? That's ridiculously disproportionate in scale. Can you at least acknowledge that point, even if you disagree?
Disproportionate to what? What did you use?
Well, I put a voltage through the medium, and I put a positive at one end, a negative at the other. I passed a current through it, and it was 12 volts, which is miles more stronger than what the actual voltage is at our altitude anyway. So mine was disproportionately strong with a 12-volt battery. And if it's not, somebody can prove me wrong. And it never happened. It was ignored. But Chaiki, my question to you is, in the same way that a candle isn't sufficient to boil water because it's not strong enough, you're doing the inverse opposite and producing an MRI machine, which is orders of magnitude billions of times stronger than what is claimed to be the downwards acceleration by Bob. So do you accept that your scaled argument is disproportionately magnificent relative to the claim that Bob actually makes, which is millivolts?
I'm asking you, you made the test, you made the egg move or whatever. What was the proportion? What kind of proportion did you use?
I used a disproportionately advantageous and favorable to Bob amount of voltage or current or flow or amperage, whatever word he uses to describe that flow. I use 12 volts, but at our level on the Earth, we measure these things in millivolts. They're minuscule, but I use 12 full volts, which is disproportionately in Bob's favor. Now you're saying, did I do it in an MRI machine? How much is there in that? Do you acknowledge that your applied scale is grossly disproportionate? Do you acknowledge that?
What did you have in your hypothesis the limits of things we need to use, the proportion?
No, and that's a good point. So that's where the validation of the null didn't get enough clarity from me yesterday, and someone from the chat, I can't remember who it was to credit them, but they pointed this out to me. So if you're that person, make a comment on this video if you're listening, just so I can actually credit you. But they said, no, in terms of what Jeremy was putting across to you, the better response would have been to say, when you write out the null and you include the variation of your independent variable, you can put it on a scale to make a more concise statement about what was confirmed, that's validated and proven in the null. So if for the sake of argument you say, well, based on limitations of technology, we could only achieve 60 degrees in the water. So your null statement, based on what you actually did, was to say that water did not boil at 60 degrees C at 1 atmospheric pressure. So that is a confirmed statement. No matter what you do at 1 atmospheric pressure, if you apply 60 degrees of heat to water, it'll never boil. Yeah? So that's what you write out as your statement. If you're going to be hyper-specific about what you actually did. How much you varied the independent variable. So someone can analyse it after the fact and go, oh, right, at 60 degrees it didn't boil. That's confirmed, proven, true. What about at 80? Oh, right, 80 degrees, 1 atmospheric, still didn't get it to boil. So that's what you write down. Yeah. But you've then confirmed that as a null hypothesis. It's proven that at 1 atmospheric pressure, 80 degrees C will not induce boiling. Okay, it's still proven, never to be changed. You're never going to induce boiling at 80 degrees C at 1 atmospheric pressure. So you've proven that.
I have a question.
I'm explaining and agreeing with you, Chaiki, that the qualification for where and how you validated the null with the quantity that you used in terms of the variation of the independent variable is still held true because you have confirmed that hypothesis in the null. The prediction is still true when you write it out with the variable and how much you varied it. In this case, heat, or in Anthony's case, which is what you're arguing about, which is where I was going with this, the amount of electricity. You can, because he states, well, at 12 volts, no effect was induced. You can turn around and say, well, about 250,000 volts. Be my guest. Write it out as a null, write it out as an alternative, vary and manipulate that which you're assuming will cause the effect of vector change, in this case, an electrostatic field induction, and do it at 250,000 volts, you genius scientist, you. Get on with it. Don't ask Anthony why he hasn't. That's the beauty of this.
I wasn't talking about
I'm still talking. Like I was explaining to Jaren, you don't have to rely on Anthony. Yeah? Don't trust Anthony to have done it properly. Do it yourself. That's the point. Systematic experimentation. You take Anthony's experiment at the research stage when you do it. So you observe the phenomena. Step 2, do some background research. Oh, Anthony did it. He put 12 volts through. That's interesting to take into consideration when I vary and manipulate the electricity. Because I've done my background research. Typically, we don't cover this. But ultimately, when that person varies it at 250,000 volts, the next man along doesn't have to take the result as being trustworthy either. You keep doing it. And when you keep getting the same null result over and over again, you can say with certitude, this has been proven. We have systematically tried to validate that electricity will induce vector change, and no matter what we do and who does it and how much we do it, we always get a null result. That's it. So you validate the null by way of systematic experimentation. Something we've been disseminating for about 2 years. I mean, I've been disseminating for about 8 years. Then QE came along and started backing me up on it. It was great.
This was really the problem that Jaren was trying to get to you, Nathan. He was
I
trying
don't
to
think
get
we're
you to
addressing the
acknowledge.
problem. I don't think we're addressing the problem properly because the temperature of the water, not the heat. If the water measures 100 degrees Celsius, the water will be boiling at one atmospheric pressure.
No, the water will measure 500 degrees and they will still be ice.
No.
And sorry, Chaiki, if you carry on babbling about Fantasyland Jupiter boiling in a different pressure, I'm going to kick you out. Because no, at 500 C, water's going to be boiling. That's absolutely absurd. And just dropping in that this is going to happen on Jupiter is a bloody outrage. Stop doing it.
Oh, outrage.
It is ridiculous.
Fact is...
Just stop doing it. I've already addressed it. You're varying the pressure if you do that. Even if we take your Fantasyland of what Jupiter is and how it is and the pressure there, then you're varying pressure. Okay? But it's far easier to manipulate pressure if you want to hold that heat constant and vary the pressure. You can do that here. You don't need to go to Jupiter, so you can beg the question of Fantasyland Jupiter and keep dropping it into the conversation. It's pathetic. Stop it.
Or we can look at it the other way and say, well,
can I answer?
Jackie,
Nathan.
when I open my wardrobe and I walk through the wardrobe into Narnia, in Narnia you can get water to 1,000 degrees and it won't boil.
Here's example, Chaiki. Very pertinent.
So, when I pointed out and I showed you, not on Jupiter, a different lab which has you ran and you changed your hypothesis.
Yeah, you can change your hypothesis and hold heat constant and vary the pressure. If you want to vary pressure as the independent variable to induce boiling water, you can. And it would also be validated if you induced the effect.
Why can't I finish talking?
Because you keep talking about a second variable and I keep agreeing with you. If you want to hold heat and everything else constant and vary pressure, as is depicted on your graph that specifically shows pressure, it says it on the side of the graph. Pressure! So this is varying pressure, you stupid clown, not heat, which is what we're discussing. You're discussing an entirely different experiment that doesn't have heat as the independent variable, and I've pointed that out to you, and you keep doing it.
No. I have two labs. One always has high pressure. That's where I tested it.
Yeah, so we're not talking about that. We're talking about heat. The heat's the variable in this experiment. That's a different experiment. Do you want to talk about a different experiment where you induce boiling with pressure?
I finished talking. I don't know, Nathan.
You want to talk about a different experiment that we're not discussing? What was discussed with Jaren yesterday was the experiment where variation of heat induces water boiling. Now you want to talk about variation of pressure. That's something else. That's a different experiment.
You don't want to hear other.
So do you want to chant through me? You don't want to chant through me, or will I point out that you're talking about a completely different experiment when you vary pressure? Because pressure as a different independent variable isn't the same experiment which has heat as the independent variable. And if you're suggesting both should be varied, then it's not an independent variable. It's that simple.
Same experiment.
So it's the same experiment, even though independent variable heat will cause water to boil versus independent variable pressure will cause water to boil. They're two different things, you stupid clown. They're not the same experiment, they're different.
It's always constant.
That's it, Chaiki. I'm sick of it. Stop it.
Say I was wrong. Let's move on.
You were wrong.
And just to add to what I said before, I can also boil water with a candle, depending on the amount of water, obviously.
Try to follow, George. You're way far behind.
I'm just sick of this. Telling him he's far behind with no substance to your nonsense where you vary something in a different experiment to say that it's the same experiment.
Same experiment. Different lab. Pressure is constant. No. The only thing that varies is heat. Should I repeat it, Nathan?
Wait, you're saying pressure is constant on Jupiter?
On the second lab, we have two labs. One atmosphere, one, I don't know, 100,000 atmosphere. Doesn't matter.
Where would that lab be?
Two labs.
Where would that lab be?
Labs.
Sorry, where can I go to a lab where it's 100,000 times atmospheric pressure through the wardrobe into Narnia, where it's 100,000 times the pressure? In Narnia, that's where that lab is, right, Chaiki?
No.
No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're talking about a lab in Narnia.
It's a very weak argument.
What, a weak argument to say that if we go to a lab in Narnia where there's a different pressure, well, then you've varied the pressure by going to Narnia where there's a different pressure, ergo varying the pressure, and it's not the independent variable, therefore it's not the same experiment.
Okay, if you want to make yourself look like a clown, do it.
Sorry, get out. That's your last chance. Get lost. Someone kick him out. You're not going to call me a clown when I break down how fallacious you are when you point out that using pressure, you can show a difference. Yeah, you can if you vary pressure. But that's not the experiment where we vary heat and hold everything, including pressure, constant. But you want to say, no, it is being held constant in La La Land on Jupiter, where it's 100,000 times the pressure in that laboratory. Arsehole. Get lost.
But Nathan, I wanna ask something like, can we say it a cause or effect phenomena instead of telling that science is proving that? Because without science, we can also agree that heat can cause water to boil. We don't need a science, and it is just a cause and effect. So science is not proving it. Can we say that?
No, absolutely correct. So you don't need science to prove that heat is used to cause water to boil. It's bloody obvious. That was merely an example designed specifically for Jaren so that he could understand this in a very dumbed down way, where you reduce it to the most basic, obvious stuff that any idiot can understand does occur when you apply heat, water boils. Jaren decided to take it to a La La Land where water doesn't boil at 100 degrees in order to get around the argument, rather than understand the example that had been dumbed down just for him.
No, but Jaren was also saying that these things are obvious and science is just to define the hidden things, and we cannot account it for that science is proving it because like we are breathing air, so we don't need to go to science to approve it. Like gravitational force, like science cannot prove what causes the downward vector. I think he was...
Sorry, hold on a second, my friend. Sorry, science can't prove the downward vector? What, like when I release a helium balloon? What downward vector would that be when I release a helium balloon?
No, because something is going down. That's why, because of density and buoyancy, it is
Are you just going to ignore me? Did you hear what I just said? I said, what about when I release a helium balloon? You said, no, when things go down. Sorry, did you not hear me?
But helium balloon also goes down, I think.
Sorry, excuse me. Are you retarded? Do you need locking up in a mental asylum? You just stated that helium balloons go down.
Yeah, in a vacuum chamber.
Sorry, in a vacuum chamber? Is that a natural phenomena?
Yeah, because...
Sorry, no, it's not, you stupid clown. Whoever's interrupting from G+, shut up immediately. As soon as there's a bloody fundy, I get horrible interruptions constantly. No, thank you. Don't need any help. And no, my friend, we don't live in a vacuum. Science is interested in the physical and natural world. We don't experience helium balloons in vacuums naturally. Gas, on the other hand, expands in all directions, in all vectors, including up. It's not got a downward bias. So your assumed phenomena, that what science isn't going to be proving anyway according to your standards, is downward bias. No, that's not something we observe naturally occurring. We observe things moving in all directions. At the end of your argument for gravity, I take it?
Yeah. Like, we cannot prove why the things are going down.
What, like helium balloons? Are you deaf? Not all things are going down. Repeat after me. Repeat after... Excuse me, I'm talking.
No, because
repeat after me. Repeat after me. Not all things go down. Can you repeat that, please?
According to me, all matter goes down.
So, helium balloons, gases, clouds are going down then? That wasn't rhetorical.
I think there are some other magical
I just need a yes or no. I just need is a yes or no. Do you understand what a yes or no question is? It's a closed question. Yes or...
I can't access the cloud.
Excuse me, I just need you to affirm that you understand my question because you didn't answer it. Yes or no. You state things go down. You state things go down. I say clouds, gases, helium balloon. They go down. Correct? Yes or no? Go.
Yeah, helium balloon goes down in a vacuum.
No, are you in requirement of going to the mental asylum? Because we're not living in a vacuum and science is interested in the physical and natural world. We already covered this. You seem to be ignoring me completely. You seem to be reasserting and then chanting through me. Is it just your requirement, New Moon, to chant through me as I devastate your point? We do not live in a vacuum. Science is interested in physics. That's the physical and natural world. It's natural science. We don't live in a vacuum.
Where's their helium balloons in nature?
Excuse me, who's that? Who's the White Knight helping New Moon?
I'm just asking. You said nature.
Well, can you wait? Can you wait till I finish with New Moon? Can you wait?
Yeah.
Thank you. New Moon, we don't live in a vacuum. That's the third time I've addressed this, and you've circle jerked back to it 3 separate occasions now. Not all things go down. We don't live in a vacuum.
There are many people. But there are demonstrations available, like people create a vacuum and a helium balloon. When the vacuum is created, it goes down.
I see.
And it is also.
I see. So I understand. So the helium balloon itself is a container, is it not, with gas in it? Correct.
Yeah.
And in that balloon, the gas is going down to the bottom of the balloon, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So the bottom of the balloon is bigger than the top. It's a big flat pancake because all the gas in the balloon has gone down. It's not evenly spread out in the balloon, pressing on the balloon equally in all directions. You're saying the gas inside the balloon actually is going down towards the bottom of the balloon. Are you stupid?
It's because of the shape.
Sorry, what? It's because? No, gases aren't going down in helium balloons, even in vacuum chambers. They're spreading out in all directions inside the containment of the balloon. Do you not appreciate that?
Yeah, it also expands the balloon.
So it's going in all directions and not down in the balloon, then? Hello?
Yeah, but...
So it's not going down in the balloon, then. It's actually going in all directions, exactly as I stated, even in a vacuum chamber. Inside the containment of the balloon, the gases have in fact spread out in all directions, including up. They're not going down making a pancake, are they?
Thermodynamics. It's just because of...
So you seem to be stuttering through me while I'm making my point concluded. You don't need to stammer and stutter your way through the conclusion of my point. The balloon's not a pancake.
Yeah.
You just need to shut up, my friend, New Moon. Yeah, while I absolutely annihilate your stupid crap. Just shut up and listen. Would you mind popping yourself on mute? There you go. Good lad. No, New Moon. Inside your vacuum chamber with a balloon in it, the balloon itself is a container. And inside that container, the gases have spread out in all directions, including up. There was no bias down. So you are wrong. Even with your example in a very unnatural circumstance, I can still demonstrate that gases expand in all directions, and were you to remove the balloon so that the vacuum chamber itself was the only containment, the helium would spread out in all directions into the chamber, and it wouldn't be in a puddle on the floor of the chamber like it's not in a puddle at the bottom of the balloon. You're just fundamentally incorrect about gas behaviour. You think gas, when put into a solid container in a vacuum, very unnatural, will go down because the container goes down, when the gas inside the container has definitely spread in all directions and has no bias downwards. You are fundamentally incorrect, New Moon. Do you understand how wrong you are while I am constantly interrupted by somebody in G+? Anthony, go on mute.
When you finish with him, could I speak to New Moon, please?
You can, but you're off mute, interrupting it, making it an editing nightmare. Thank you. New Moon, you're wrong.
And it's spreading just because of the second law of thermodynamics.
So the gas is spreading throughout the balloon, including up, not bias down, then, like you asserted. So you're wrong.
Yeah, it's going in every...
You don't need to stutter, just say yes. You were wrong, you stupid idiot. Now you just need to confirm how wrong you were. The gas expands into the balloon, doesn't it?
Yeah, because...
Yes, you stupid weasel. Yes is all you need to say now, weasel. Yes.
Bro, I'm a flat earther. I
don't give a crap what you are. You're wrong, you stupid moron. Think I'm going to have your appeal to being a flat earther when you're wrong about gas behaviour? Gas does not go down in the balloon, does it?
Because I have seen the action...
Sorry, in the balloon, the gas expands in all directions equally, doesn't it?
Yeah, but...
Yes! So, stupid moron, don't give a crap that you're a flat earther, you're bloody wrong. Do you understand how wrong you are? The gas in the balloon itself isn't going down, you stupid, idiotic moron.
But you can...
Don't give me but. I don't want to hear your buts. You're wrong. You said the gas goes down. You exampled a chamber, that's a balloon, with another chamber around it, that's a vacuum chamber, and you stated that the gas went down. Yet in the balloon, it doesn't. So you're wrong.
The whole balloon gets down.
The balloon isn't a gas, though, is it? The balloon isn't the gas, you stupid idiot. Do you not know the difference between the surface of a balloon, which is a solid, versus the containment it provides to the gas we're detailing? That would be helium, expanding in all directions with no bias down in the balloon.
Wasn't there a gradient
Shut up!
inside the balloon?
Someone mute Die Slow.
At the base of the
Mute
balloon?
Die Slow immediately. So in the balloon, because obviously it's been attempted by the White Knight to distract away from something that's destroying a bias, even for flat earth muppets who still have it, in the balloon, new moon, it is not biased down in that container, regardless of what that container, the solid container of the balloon, is in. Who cares what the balloon is in? Inside the container for the gas is not biased down. Is it, new moon?
So do you know the reason why...
Don't ask me a question. You just need to say no.
So do you know
Don't
the
ask
reason...
me, you stuttering little shit. You need to affirm that you understand that in the balloon it's not biased down as you stated. You're not going to get a question from me until you concede that in the balloon it's not biased down. The gas expands into the container of the balloon equally in all directions, contradicting your assertion that it goes down. You will affirm this, you total weasel.
I have already addressed it with the second law of thermodynamics. That
So the second law of thermodynamics is dynamically debunking your downward bias then?
No, it's just...
So it's actually going down in the balloon. The balloon is actually pancake-shaped because the gas in the balloon's going down?
Yeah, it's also going...
No, it's not. It's expanded into the balloon in all directions, you stupid idiot. Even in your own example, which you have seen with your own bloody eyes, you know damn well that the balloon is expanded equally in all directions and isn't sodding pancake-shaped, you abject liar.
Nah, the pressure of going outwards is more, and the pressure it is putting down, it's very, very low. That's why it's going down with a very low force. But
it's not going down, it's filling the balloon equally by expanding into it in all directions equally. It's not down. The balloon isn't a pancake shape because of the bias down. How many times have I got to explain this to you? Do you not appreciate that the balloon isn't pancake shaped? What is your malfunction?
Yeah, you're right about it. Yeah, it's going in every direction.
So not biased downward then, you stupid idiot.
That is another force that is...
Sorry, it's another force for gas to be expanding equally in all directions? No, that's not a force, that's just gas behaviour. It's not biased downwards.
Yeah. It's just the second law of thermodynamics, that's why it's going in all directions. But
I see, so all directions isn't biased downwards then, is it, you stupid idiot? What is your malfunction? Equally in all directions isn't your Muppet view of bias down.
Okay, if I...
Not okay! You're absolutely infuriating. No, it's not okay. You've come here and told us it's biased down by showing us a solid container with gas in it and telling us what the container will do in a vacuum chamber. Meanwhile, in the container of the balloon itself, the gas isn't biased down. That's not okay. You said it was. You're wrong. I need you to understand how wrong you are before we can move on. It's utterly infuriating.
No, just imagine in a zero...
Don't imagine anything, you stupid dick. The balloon's in the vacuum chamber, it's expanded in all directions. No imagination is needed, only you to make your concession about how wrong you were about the gas being biased down. It isn't.
But bro, what is going to happen...
Don't ask me something. You need to concede, you total weasel, that you were wrong when you said the gas was biased downwards in the balloon. It isn't. Now you concede. Don't ask me something.
But...
No buts! You were wrong. You said gas biased down. In balloon, it examples it otherwise. You were wrong. Not but. You were wrong. Gas not biased. Not moving downwards. All directions in the balloon.
We should perform this.
Don't tell me what we should do. You gave me an example and I ripped it through your own arsehole. You and the rest of the Muppet idiots who are flat earthers and think we've got a bias down. We haven't. You're wrong. You need to admit that.
So why the things are...
Don't ask me something. How many fucking times? Admit you are wrong by way of the balloon example. No bias downward for the gas. That's all we're going to do. And until you admit it, you total weasel, we're not doing anything else.
Okay. I am admitting that I was wrong about that.
Yeah, that a bunch of idiots on the flat earth. You think there's a downward bias? You think we need to explain the gravity we don't have? There it is, the concession from this Muppet idiot, presumably with an ether belief, being backed by Dice Slow as a white knight. There is no bias downwards. There isn't one. So your incoherent dielectric acceleration shite is debunked. Do you hear me, flat earthers? You've all been raped by idiots lying to you with science. Because they all told you that they were explaining this downward bias that doesn't exist with scientific evidence of ether, right? Now they're all lying to you. And Moon, you were one of the people duped by this garbage, weren't you, my friend?
I know why it's going down. It's going down.
It isn't going down. The gas is expanding in all direction. Cognitive dissonance much? Need to reassert that it's going down when the gas is expanded in all directions in the balloon? Need to double down on that stupid shit, do you?
That is another thing working, but that is...
Sorry, it's the thing that works against your claim that things are biased downwards. It works very much against that.
But if you reperform...
No buts. You are wrong. No bias down. Balloon not pancake. Expands in all directions equally. You are wrong. No buts. No questions. Just you admitting it and nothing else until we get it.
Yeah, I admitted that it will expand in all the directions.
Then we haven't got a bias downwards and there's no need to explain more than with an incoherent dielectric accelerative force because there isn't a bias downwards to need explaining with an incoherent dielectric accelerative force, which doesn't exist also and can't be validated in any way, shape or form, let alone put through the scientific method. It's all bollocks. Bollocks you've been lied to about. By Bob, who's dead now, so who cares?
But there is no way to explain it, otherwise...
Sorry, what? Wait, when it's going up. What about the gases going up? What do the gases pressing on the top of the balloon moving up way? When weight is a measure in the downward bias for solids in air? No, there's no weight for the gases pressing on the top of the balloon. They're going up. I still haven't heard you tell me how wrong you were about this assertion that things are all going down. You've doubled down on it after admitting that you were wrong, and yeah, it all will go in the same direction, or equally in all directions, rather.
Density and buoyancy is a result of downward vector.
Sorry, what downward vector would that be with the balloon? So the downward vector of the gas is pushing the balloon up to expand in all directions. They're going down, are they? Arsehole.
No, expanding in...
Arsehole. They're not going down, they're going up. You keep circle jerking around to the stuff going down, ignoring the stuff that's going up.
Yeah, there are some...
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you're ignoring it. Yeah, the stuff going up in the balloon to make the balloon expand in all directions wouldn't be in any way comporting with your downward bias that you haven't conceded yet. You've been swindled, New Moon. Been conned into believing that you need to explain a downward bias with incoherent dielectric acceleration because that's the only reason you beer if you're a flat earther. You'd have that claim having it lied to you by charlatans who claim science when they haven't got any, and then call the people who call them out for lying and scamming with science claims they haven't put through the scientific method. Yeah, those people who call them out get called scammers. Meanwhile, ether's a scam, and the people who peddle it are liars and charlatans and cheats and frauds. who use science as a magic word to convince Muppets like you that there's a downward bias that needs explaining when there isn't. You've been conned. Yeah? That's what's happened. You've been conned by charlatans using the same magic trick that was used to con you onto a ball. Now flat earthers are conning you with the same magic trick. Science proves the ether. No, it fucking doesn't. Because it hasn't been through the scientific method. There's no empirical evidence for it, and there's no downward bias to need explaining. Hope that's clear with my balloon and its gases that aren't going down, that you can't possibly concede.
So what is the reason? What is the reason things are going down?
I didn't say they were. They're not. The balloon defies that claim. We've gone through this about 18 times.
I don't want to talk about that example.
Oh, you'd rather not talk about the stuff that's not going down to affirm your bias that needs explaining with incoherent dielectric acceleration. You'd rather not focus on those things. I see. So would it be better if I only focused on solids moving through air so that your nonsensical shite about incoherent dielectric acceleration, that shysters and con artists who use science as a magic word to peddle nonsense they haven't proven, I can then accept the downward force that doesn't exist because not all things are going down. So it's better that we don't focus on them, right?
Because of electrostatics.
Sorry, what's because of electrostatics? The downward bias we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have it. So you're not going to be explaining it with... You're not going to be explaining it without, given that we don't have it.
Have them define it. What's electrostatics?
Yeah, I don't believe in electrostatics, like everything is positively charged and Earth is negatively charged.
Not my question. That wasn't my question. That's not my question. I asked you to define electrostatics.
I don't know the proper definition.
OMG. Take it away, Nathan.
I'm waiting for him. What else you got?
I gotta say, this is pretty sad, though.
Yeah, we've been conned as flat earthers for quite a substantial period of time, and as a result of me highlighting the con, the grift, the charlatans using the word of science to imply that they've got proof that's been through the scientific method when it hasn't, which has also got a title, it's pseudoscience. These pseudoscience claims of ether have been peddled through our community that I love for years. Now I've tried to stamp them out, and I'm going to continue to try and stamp them out. Anybody who thinks there's ether to explain a downward bias we haven't got has been conned. And you'll hear lots of science words being used while you're being conned, I absolutely assure you. That's why I'm being called a scammer currently. Because all the people out there on the circuit that do like using that magic word of science would rather it wasn't specifically defined as having been through the scientific method. Because they haven't. When they charlatans con you with ether and the science of Mickus and Morley. Right? It's not. It's all bollocks. You've just been conned. It's that simple. Yeah? I hope that's all clear. You know, Jaren's absolute resistance because he's surrounded by charlatans and he's got to defend them. People who claim science when they haven't got any. You know, those people saying science is proof, oh no, they're not going to get called out. Only the person that can show how it isn't proof. That's the only con man. I mean, all of them are saying science is proof. It's just when they say it, Jaren's boys, they haven't been through the scientific method. So it's probably best if the one that says you should really have gone through the scientific method to call it science, better call him a con man and a scammer. That's what's happening here. Yeah? I'm disrupting the grift, their grift. And like with every single objection that Jaren made about me at the beginning of his moan and bleat, he projected every single one of those things directly onto me. So you saw that very clearly. Well, what else is he saying? He's saying I'm a scammer. Yeah, that's projection also. He's protecting the grift. He's protecting Dave Weiss and Bob and Whitsit's grift when they lie about having science. Because they say science proves, but Jaren's not got an issue with them. Why? Because they haven't proven anything. He's protecting them. That's what's happening here. So they can all con you and con this moon guy. That's what's happened.
Well, it goes back to the beginning when I gave my narrative of what I thought was happening. So since the ballers came here with their falsehood statements, and they got beat up and they weren't coming, and they wanted an excuse for not coming, was because you were muting them when they were really arguing fallaciously. And today's show is a perfect example of how you give them a chance, and then eventually people could see you're going to waste 2-3 hours unless you hold them to the claim first. So, Jaron, once we took our eyes off just reviewing ballers, but reviewing what flat earthers do with the grift, oh, he didn't like that, because now the attention is on the Feast of Nonsense state spew. And so we're equal opportunity employer here. We review all kinds of videos.
Speaking of review, and we have Dyslow in there. He's on mute right now, and New Moon is left. I wonder if we can search the mysteries of Dyslow's claim that there's a difference between nothing and no thing. Anyone else up for it?
Not really. It's self-explanatory by the title.
Yeah, I have nothing planned. Let's go for it.
Is that nothing planned or no thing planned?
Well, this is what I want to find out.
Go ahead, Dyslow, the floor is yours. You did make the claim. There's a difference between nothing and no thing, Nathan. Yeah. Yes, you did.
Yeah, just got to work here. I can wrap it up real quick if you want and lay it out for you.
Okay.
So, nothing is a concept that doesn't exist. No thing is simply implying that there's not a thing to count in the sense of a vessel. Like if you had a cookie jar, as I originally gave the example of, no cookies in the cookie jar means that there's no cookies, right? There's no thing. But that's not to say that there's nothing. Two different concepts, similar but different.
So all you're doing is contrasting between the word, the verb, the doing thing, the adjective, the describing thing, and the noun, the naming thing. That's all you're describing, the difference between those different words. So what? I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Oh, good. Yeah. All right. It's fairly common sense, right?
Yeah, so there's no difference between nothing and no thing. It's not common sense. You're a retard.
Oh, there's a big difference. One doesn't exist and the other's a concept.
And the other one doesn't exist either because there's nothing there. No thing there.
It's nonsense. Why are we wasting any time on this? This is just
because I want to point out that he's a retard. Very simple.
What was your point on white knighting for Moon? What were you trying to get in?
I'm on the job, man. I can't really talk right now.
Fair enough.
He's picking up cans alongside of the road. He can't talk right
now. No, that's fine.
I'll tell you what he said. He wanted to say, are there helium balloons in nature? Because he tried to debunk Nathan's explanation about helium balloons with the downward bias. That's what he said.
I just take the helium balloon to be the container. All right, the helium balloon container's in another container. How fascinating. Meanwhile, the containment for the gas is the balloon. Oh, what's that? Let's get rid of the balloon. Or well, then it would just fill the vacuum chamber. That's what gas does.
That's what I wanted to bring up with full moon. If there was a gas law to describe directionality of gas, you should cite it, but there is none because we've looked. But there is a gas law that describes that the gas molecules will collide with the surfaces of the container evenly in all directions. It's called Blaise Pascal's gas law. Now, Blaise always say, well, it only applies to fluids. Well, gas is treated as a fluid. So it does apply to gases. It's written everywhere. You might not get it in the first search on Google when you search for it. You've got to go beyond line 1. But Pascal's gas law does apply. And there isn't a directionality of gas law to counter that point. So there is no gas law to describe his claim that there is a directionality. So that is one problem. But the second problem is if we have something floating in the medium like a helium balloon and you get the medium to be it's like the egg and the water, but it's a helium balloon in the medium of air, but you've got to mix the air to make it right so that you can get it sitting in the middle. if you then reduce the density of that medium into a vacuum and then the balloon drops, you're actually proving relative density because you're varying the density of the medium, you're reducing the density, and then you cause an acceleration in exactly the same way that if I could reduce the density of the medium, the egg would have gone down. But it doesn't do that, does it? So when you add salt, it increases the density, so the egg went up. But by varying the density of the medium to a vacuum and then the balloon goes down, you're actually proving that the helium balloon will accelerate by varying the density of the medium. Welcome to relative density, Full Moon.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifted memberships, hit me up on PayPal, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!